Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's the John Ross Show, and this is June 26th, the end of the month here, and we're into summer now. And today we're honored to have State Representative Barbara Hernandez from the 50th District, and we're going to have a little talk about Springfield updates. And it's 68 degrees out there, and I think that's a pretty mild temperature. But next week, whoa, we'll be up there next week, right before the fourth here, coming around the corner. So we're going to greet Barbara here in a second. We're going to bring her up, and we'll take that little picture down. And here comes Barbara. She'll be with us in a second here. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Representative Barbara Hernandez, and we just thank you for having the time to talk with me a few moments. Uh, Barbara, there's a lot of things that have been happening in Springfield, and I just I know one of them is about the bikes. I guess it's electric bikes or just bikes in general legislation, and I saw you were in Chicago at the Children's Hospital, I believe, and had a press conference on that. That's one thing. And there's junk fees, there's Bears Day, there's so many different things. But Barbara, why don't you just give us a little updates? What do you, on this bike thing? Though, let's start off with that because it seemed like that had a lot of traction. Traction. Ooh, a lot of a lot of energy, and it's an important topic. So, why did you get involved with this bike thoughts?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be back. Well, to be honest, how I started with the e-bikes, I had a few municipalities in the area reaching out to me, telling me that there's been a few concerns that they've had. That there's a lot of kids using these vehicles that are not regulated in many ways. There could be a safety concern of potentially someone getting hit, someone getting killed, or even putting these kids in danger, not only those that are driving regular cars, but also those that are in these new vehicles. So looking into it, I talked to the Secretary of State's office, asked them like, hey, are you going to be able to do something about this? My community is wondering. And then they said, we will take a look at it. We will see. And then this happened last year. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to work on a few things now. I would love for you to jump in and support. And they said yes. And we started working on it off the bat. So it took almost a year to work on this piece of legislation, but I'm very, very grateful for the Secretary of State's staff, his office, everyone that worked with on this legislation, because at the end of the day, we had about 10 to 15 stakeholders all on the table trying to make sure that we had a good bill. And I'm very happy that this bill actually became very bipartisan, and it provides those regulations on the bikes, the gas powered motorcycles, electric bikes, the scooters, the unicycles, the skateboards, all these different vehicles
Well,
that
it
we've
covers
seen.
quite a bit then.
It does. It really does. It does reform everything that we've seen in the streets. It gives guidelines to officers on exactly how to enforce it. It gives municipalities also an ability to see what exactly is going to, like, what are some new regulations. Some of them are going to be age requirements, so anyone 16 and above can ride certain vehicles. Depending on the speed of the bike, you might need a title registration, a driver license, and insurance. So that's something else that we are also taking a look at, and we were able to implement into this bill. So it does do a lot of things under this wonderful bill that got passed on the last day of session around 2 in the morning. But very excited that we got it through. And now it's going to be in effect on January 1st as soon as the governor signs it, which I do think he will be able to sign it soon.
So it's January 1st of the next upcoming year. It's
Yes.
going to kick off, or
Yes.
kick off. Yeah, that's when it starts enforcement. I know Batavia's put out some rules, and I'm sure Aurora has too. We gotta. I guess the biggest thing is another thing is just to enforce these rules too. That's the other side of it.
Right.
But I know when you're out walking on sidewalks or other things, we want to make sure that they're safe. And if everybody knows what the rules are, that helps. From
Exactly. And that's currently the struggle that we see. We passed a law a couple years ago that allows each municipality to set their own rules on these devices. And unfortunately, that created a lot of confusion with municipalities and for families because in Aurora, it might be a specific rule, but then you cross the city line to Montgomery and it might be a completely new rule. They might actually ban all vehicles, and the person might not know that there's a clear difference. So, this bill is across the state, it's across every municipality will have to follow this exact law. And if they want to add more to it, they can if they're in home rule. However, this is at least a standardized bill for the rest of the state.
well, that's a good point about other municipalities too. And anyway, I've seen this happen. And young people got to know what the rules are, and well, it could be anybody, but sometimes it seems like the young people are just uh, out for a lark and don't know what they're doing sometimes.
Unfortunately, and that's the case because many of them are younger than 16, so they've never had a driver ed class. They don't know the rules of the road, and but they're riding these dangerous vehicles at a young age. So and they just go straight past the red light, straight past the stoplight because they think they can. And that's where we
Right.
see accidents happen. We in the state of Illinois, we had a few deaths already of young individuals riding these vehicles, and unfortunately, they got in accidents and got killed.
Well, that is sad. That is sad. Well, thank you for doing that. That is a very important thing, Representative Hernandez, and I think the community should be thanking you for thinking of our young everybody. The Imago Day, we think of all peoples. So I know other things are out there. I had down here, I don't know, you can just discuss what you wish, but I had about junk fees. I just saw about that today. And that's a big thing. And of course, the old Bear Stadium talk and anything else. So, what's some other thoughts out there about your that last minute legislation?
Well, we passed a lot of legislation this year. We usually tend to do about 300, 400, 400 pieces of legislation throughout the year. I was able to pass 5 pieces of legislation, including the e-bikes as one of them. But like you mentioned, junk fees. The junk fee bill actually got signed, I believe, either yesterday or today into law.
Yeah, it was something like
Um,
that. I just saw it online there.
Yes, and I think that's a really big deal because as we've seen, all these different companies or restaurants or other commercial
Right.
institutions, they keep charging us certain fees that are hidden in that price range. So maybe in reality, the price might have been, let's say, $10, original price $10, but then there might be like a service fee, a
Yes.
consumer fee, and then the price that you will pay was might be 10, 20, 25, $30 or more. And but you don't know that there's like some fees in there that could be avoided. So this is more of that transparency, making sure that people are aware of those hidden fees that are there that sometimes are junk fees, as we've seen. So that's one of the things that we were able to pass, and that will be in effect starting January 1st of 2027.
Okay.
And then with
So,
the
what are some
bears,
of the other bills, or that maybe, what were some of the bills besides that bike that you were thinking about that you are pushed
yeah.
or did push through?
Well, one of the things I was able to pass is also a pet bill. As we've seen with a lot of families, they're growing in many ways, and many of them have pets. as their kid, as their loved one and their family member. But however, when currently those that are in long-term relationships, they cannot fight custody for their pets. Only those that are married. So I was able to pass a bill allowing those individuals that are either roommates, cohabitants, long-term relationships, that they can fight for the custody of their pet if they choose to. So that's one of the things that I was able to add. I was able to also do a few other agency bills, like a stroke bill, making sure we standardize the designation for the hospitals as a clear stroke designation hospital, and anything else that the federal government might throw in can go straight to it without needing us to always go back to Springfield and make a policy on it. But we were able to pass, and actually I was just told a couple minutes ago that this bill is going to be signed into law, and this is HB 1593, which expands individuals that are here in Illinois to qualify for student and state tuition for colleges and universities. So that's something that I'm very excited about, that it will be into law soon, but it will be signed today by the governor. So that's another bill that I was able to do. Another one that I was able to focus on was a local government e-pay um, program. Right now, local governments might have a company that they hire, and they try to tell them, you can't use the state program, you have to use ours. But if they use that company's program, it might cost more to municipalities than the state program. The state program is there from the treasurer's office, and it's there for to make it more affordable for local municipalities to be able to collect payment. So that's one of the things I was able to get done and fixed too. But I was also part of the cannabis working group. So we were able to reform and focus a lot more on cannabis industry and making sure that our communities can continue getting the money, our business owners can continue getting the money too, and removing some red tape that has been there for many years. And we've noticed that we need to start loosening up that red tape.
Um, how I want to ask you a question. Maybe I hope the president of the United States just said he wasn't going to sign this bill about housing, and but there's in the Constitution, if he doesn't sign it in 10 days, I mean, he doesn't veto it, he just doesn't sign it in 10 days, it becomes law. Does Illinois have that type of statute? If Governor Pritzker doesn't sign it within a certain time, it becomes law, or is it just sort of dead?
No, I think there is something like that. I don't know if it's by days, or if it's
It
like
was 10
exactly
on
how it
the
is.
federal.
Yes, I did hear that it was 10 for the federal, but I don't remember what the state of Illinois is. But since we're not in session, I don't think it's per session. I think just overall, if a certain time lapses, then it does become law.
I mean, so it's in other words, the governor didn't veto it, but he didn't
Right,
sign it. That's
right.
so anyway. I just was wondering on that because he's probably got a lot of bills to sign here, right? That
He does. Yes, and
yeah,
it
so
looks like
that's why
today
we
he's
hear about him.
right, and he's gonna sign a bunch of bills today. So that's gonna be a good batch of new bills coming in.
So I want to ask you about the old stadium question here. What's your thoughts on the stadium thought? Is it Chicago, Arlington Heights, or are we going to go all the way to Indiana, or what's your thinking here?
Yeah, well, as someone that lives in the suburbs, I'm not aware of all the political things that are going on in Chicago, but I will say, like for me, my priority is to make sure that we get property tax relief in our communities, making sure that whatever bill or negotiation happens in Chicago with the Bears, like making sure that there's a piece of that pie that can come to our district, that can come to the rest of the state, making sure that the families are not getting taxed too much for what's going to happen with the Bears. So that's one of the things I'm keeping an eye on. I don't think the Bears are going to go to Indiana. I don't. I think at this point they're just playing the game of who's gonna give me what.
I think so.
And
I agree with you there. I think it's a game here, and they're just playing. Yes,
right, yes. And I think we continue to have those conversations. I know that my colleague Cam Buckner, who's leading this legislation, he's been in constant contact with them, working with them on it. So I'm sure the conversations are ongoing. However, I don't think we should bend the knee to make sure that they get what they want, because we need to also make sure we provide to our communities.
right,
And I have to remind people, this is a multi-billion-dollar company that they could afford it on their own. The Chicago Fire has is going to build a new stadium, and they
right,
haven't asked us for any money.
right. I understand. Yes, and
So like, what's the difference between the Chicago Fire and the Bears? Like, why is one asking us for a
that's
handout,
true.
a complete handout, and the other one is
And they
self-sufficient?
and they say the Bears are worth $8 billion at the B dollars. So
Exactly.
and
Exactly. So at the end of
the
the day,
Cubs don't do anything that way, Ricketts. So
right.
I anyway, I'm glad you're on ball here and thinking about how it could affect our citizens and our taxes. I think that's very important to don't get, especially, I guess the word would be hoodwinked, hoodwinked, something like that. Well, Barbara, when you go back in session again, are they, oh, that was a question. Are they going to call a Bears
A special
governor going to
session.
call a special
Well,
session?
it seems like the governor has said that if there is a negotiation, a bill that comes through the summer, he's willing to call us into session. But we haven't been to that point of negotiation, to my knowledge, or get close to that to have a bill to be able to be called. So I don't know if it's going to happen in the summer, but we are scheduled to be back in Springfield in November.
Uh-oh. You're there. I'm sorry. Something just went, it's froze there. When are you scheduled to go back?
Back in November.
November. That's the normal time, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll
Yes.
see
And then
what
that's for veto
happens
session.
during a
Yes.
summer session or whatever they would call it for the Bears. Well, Barbara, thank you for serving the Aurora community, and I know you've been really alert for the in the past about the ICE agents coming, and I want to use the word disruptive and not in a legal sense. It's not that we don't want good immigration enforcement, but we don't want this police state type of immigration. And you've been very vigilant in watching the community for that. And I think we should be grateful for that. And I thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And we'll see what happens on that front.
Yes.
That's another topic. There's so many of these topics out there right now, and it can get discouraging. And I want to thank you and keep your spirits up there, Barbara, and thank you for what you're doing for an area community. So I just want to thank Barbara Hernandez for just stopping by for a few moments and giving us some thoughts on what's happening. And so, Barbara, we'll connect here soon again, I think. And I just appreciate you
Mm,
taking a few moments with me today. And I hope we'll
yeah.
pass this around and hope others can see this short time together here.
Thank you. Yes. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for having
Barbara
me.
Hernandez. Uh huh.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Yes, you're sure welcome. And I want to put up one reminder. This is for the weekend in Aurora. Let me get my thing here. Excuse me one thing, Barbara. It's a nice event. Oh, what happened? Here we are. The men with the men who cook this weekend over at Westminster Presbyterian, put together by the Fox Valley Christian Minister Alliance. So come on out. That's 11:30 to 4:30, and we have different pricing, but it helps them out in their scholarship program for young people. So that's this weekend, and I do have the prices, but we won't put up the gas prices right now. So I just want to thank Barbara Hernandez for stopping by and being with us there. So thank you, Barbara. And we'll talk again, and we'll see you then all on Monday. See you Monday. Let's get that up here. We'll see you Monday, folks. So we'll see you Monday. We'll see you Monday, folks. So God bless. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk again. So bye bye now. Bye bye.